Good evening, everyone. This is Michael, and I'm substituting for Tuya here for a little while, and then at 7 o'clock GMT, she'll be here to lead the sacred Pentagram meditation for Aquarius. This is our last day of that basically 5-day process. 2 days before, 2 days after, and then of course the full moon in the center. So I'd like to welcome you to the Ask Project, Ask, Seek, and Knock. We're all familiar with the biblical idea behind that. And today we're meditating on triangles. Well, it's a vast subject, and I'll just say DK has acquainted us with the idea that there is a great triangle coming forward to surround the Christ. It is the avatar of synthesis, a great extraplanetary, maybe even extra-systemic being, the spirit of peace, extraplanetary being, and the Buddha. They represent the first, second, and third rays, respectively, and the Buddha with his strong third ray monad is in the position of the third ray as the Lord of Light, Spirit of Peace, Lord of Love, and Avatar of Synthesis, bringing everything together under first ray synthesis. More and more will be known about these beings as we progress towards the age of Aquarius and following the year 2025, when the third installment of the great teaching, this series of what DK calls bridging treatises, will be offered. Well, let's simply begin. This is an everyday activity, and every once in a while, every Wednesday, and then either every other Friday or every Friday, we're going to do the science of triangles, and we always have a little meditation along this line after that. And basically, if you're in a triangle or more, it's a daily process to vivify the triangles network. Another name for the soul is the triangle, and we're speaking there of probably of the spiritual triad, which is the true ego or true soul, the threefold personality of the monad. And basically the principle behind it is non-sacred planets have an etheric body filled with squares. It's not a sacred image. It is an image representing matter and the fourfold personality, three vehicles, and their sum is the fourth. And we simply have to, as DK told us, learn to bisect the square esoterically, as his teacher, probably Pythagoras, taught him to do long ago, and then therefore bring the energies of the egoic lotus and the energies of the spiritual triad, and even one day the threefold monad, into the etheric body, and thus basically change the structure of the dense physical plane, which has been inherited from an earlier system and is conditioned in a way that does not yet reflect the purposes of our second ray solar system and the soul, the second ray soul of our planet. So I think we understand what's behind all this and how important it is to carry it forward with regularity. As DK said, it is work that must go on. Must must go on. So he's a person or a being more given to understatement than he is to overstatement. So if he begs us to do something, as sometimes he does, and he says that something must happen, it's important. Let's begin with absorbing the white light of the higher realms, as if imaginatively breathing it in from above or within. And we'll sound the Om 3 times, taking what we have absorbed and as if breathing it out into the soul nature of humanity, considering human beings as souls and as increasingly soul-infused personalities, however long it may take. So Master DK has some advice for us and for all people who are working with the triangles. He says, I would ask you for a few minutes each morning prior to doing the group meditation to rest quietly back in your chair or bed and, closing your eyes, link up with your soul and with me, your friend. You will thus create a triangle of light between your soul, your head center, and myself. Fix and hold this triangle firmly in your consciousness. And as far as the appearance of it goes, it's something like this. See it next as a solid triangle of light, not just an outline, sort of a golden orange color, and we visualize the base of the triangle on the mental plane where Master DK works and where dwells and works your soul. The solar angel has projected much of itself, but at least a fragment of itself, onto the higher mental plane, and there undertakes to help to guide its personality. And the lower point or apex touches the top of the head. So from the realm of the soul, where Master DK is working, and also the projection of the solar angel, to the top of the head, which is the master center of all the centers, and we see pouring down via this triangle a stream of light, more golden in color than white, more orange light than white. You know, the very basis of the solar angel is the color orange. On the higher mental plane there are streams of energy, one coming from the Master, one coming from the solar angel, manifesting itself as the angel of the presence, and then even from the monad coming down into the jewel in the lotus, and those three streams mix together to produce at this time the kind of consciousness we have on that level, and we want that consciousness to descend into our brain consciousness, into our personal consciousness. So when we've visualized this triangle as well as we can, we rest back, and in that light, he says, bathe in it as you would bathe in the waters of the sea. And we see it permeating every part of our physical equipment. And we should do it without any definite ideas as to what should be accomplished, because we can leave it to Master Decay. It's in his hands, and he says, you can trust me to do what needs to be done. And he advises us that this exercise, done daily, will aid us in handling our life problem and our service, until such time as you enter into that light, wherein consciousness awakens free from the bonds of flesh. And we realize he's talking about the situation once the transition has occurred and we begin to awaken on the inner planes after an incarnation. The blessings of your co-disciples rests upon you and yours upon them. Now we've reached a poised stage, and we hold the consciousness steady in the mind, the thinking, reasoning mind, rather than in the head. Hopefully we can discriminate that. It's, you can think of it as the place of rationality, the place of logic, the place where all the mental activities that we are familiar with do occur. And we think of contacting the spiritual triplicity, which is that which hovers over the square and radiates the energy of light into the waiting field of active thought. Basically, we're contacting the soul on the higher mental plane with its threefold energies at this time, and even as time progresses we'll be contacting the spiritual triad and even the spirit aspect, which is also threefold: will, wisdom, and activity. So as if above the head there is the triangle. It's the egoic lotus, it's the causal body, it's in a way a triangle, think of it that way. And we then think about the people with whom we may be engaged in one triangle or more. And quietly we think of these triangles and transmit the energy accordingly. And we're visualizing the flow of love and goodwill passing between the members of our triangle to triangles. And we get the sense as we do that that it's helping to change the square-like etheric field. And light too, spiritual light, passes between us, the members of our group, little triangle group, and eventually it'll be the will to good when we know something about what that energy actually is. So we try to feel the light joining the network and the increasing livingness of the little network and the larger network, in which our little network plays a tiny little part. So we link that our little network to the greater network. In every country and between countries and continents, connecting. The internet has made so much possible, and we can be connected in triangles with people all over the world that we might never even meet under the older circumstances. And perhaps some of your triangles include people from other countries and other continents. It's all part of linking the great network ever more closely. We remember to have faith in this network because DK has described how important it is. It's under the eye of the three Buddhas of activity, focused like Sanat Kumara is in Shambhala. And these great beings, they are very great. They were planetary logoi in the previous major solar system. Imagine that. So this network is under their eye and can be used should emergencies come and the karma allow and humanity be incapable. Then the Buddhas of activity can do their protective work through the triangles. So this work rises very high. And when we look at it, here are the three Buddhas, here's the network, and here is your little network. It's all fused together. Increasingly so. You know, we should carry this triangles network with us as we pass through our day, and every once in a while reference it and call upon it It's an amazing esoteric structure. And think of the time when at least 100,000 living, vivid triangles exist. That's the story supposedly taken from Alice Bailey, that when that would happen, there would be the big turn in terms of orientation of humanity towards the spiritual life. So we sound the Om 3 times and imagine humanity redeemed and the earth redeemed and made into a sacred planet. Oh. We'll think of the power of invocation as we think of this great word of power, the great invocation which has been given to us when the Christ made his decision to appear physically for the duration of the Aquarian age. So, when we do our triangles every day, we manage to visualize all of it, our whole little network, whether it's 1 triangle or 50 or whatever, and we sound the great invocation. sustain the circulation of light and of love through the triangles. And we try to do that, you know, reflecting every once in a while, flashing on that triangles network and instantaneously sending the light and the love. We can do that, and eventually the will to good. So we thank you for your participation, and very shortly we're going to begin our work with the Aquarius sacred pentagram. Final day of that. It is very connected with Aquarius, you know, so much fifth ray comes through that particular constellation and sign. So this, you'll just be able to tune in on the same link, and we look forward to meditating with you on that. The work requires tangible support, of course, and we are grateful for any contribution you can make to it to keep it going.